You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, we're back at the old stand on the Paracast. A little bit later, we'll be talking with conspiracy theorist expert, parapolitical expert, Kenneth Thomas. But the thing that will be more interesting here, and I'll ask him about this, I'll give you a little bit of preview. There's a story that came out this week where they interviewed RFK Jr. Now, he's a liberal activist. He also does a talk show on the weekends. And he revealed that his dad never believed the Warren Commission report that a lone gunman was responsible for killing JFK. So that's an interesting development, kind of vindicating, I think, the theories that a conspiracy was involved there. So we'll get into that later. Wanted to bring up that guest we had 2 weeks ago, Werner Bach, okay? And I got a call from somebody, I won't mention his name, who claimed to be someone who had investigated Bach from one time or another. And I started talking with him, and I tried to get him to explain a few things, because I'm not the kind of person who lives down the farm. I know nothing about it. And there are obviously a lot of things that I'm ignorant about. You know, in fact, some people say, Gene, you are a professor of ignorance. I'll go for that. You know, I'll agree to that. So I start the conversation running, and then he starts yelling four-letter words, and he hangs up. So that's the end of that guy. Then I got an email from one of our regular listeners who says, and I have to check it out, I think part of it seems to at least be correct, it may be all correct, that Bach is a regular call-in to a radio show that caters to people who have anti-Zionist or anti-Jewish beliefs. Now, I hate to say that about anybody, but if that's what Bach believes, we don't talk about him anymore. He's history. Chris?
Well, it's news to me, Gene. That never came up in any of my conversations with him. You know, some people, when they get into really difficult circumstances in their lives, they tend to strike out at convenient targets, and that might be the case with Werner. I think paranoia and suspicion kind of breed more paranoia and more suspicion, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I can understand the frustrations. I hate to see it directed towards any particular religion or race or anything like that, because that's so unproductive. And it's so unfortunate, but I could see the paranoia. I mean, in a sense, I don't like the guy for having that kind of attitude, but I understand his frustration that things so bad are happening to him. He's living all alone up there. He doesn't have a family to call on. He doesn't seem to have any friends. And, you know, if I lived a way like that, if I didn't have my wife here each day and all the people that I contact online, and I don't really go out all that much except to do errands, I think I'd be pretty crazy. In fact, I probably am pretty crazy, but that would make it worse.
Well, you know, I really feel for the guy. I really think that he has some major issues that he's dealing with, and you know, he badgered me to get him on the show, and, you know, we did, as you know, we kept putting it off for good reason. I was really on the fence about him. You know, I really do feel he's going through, you know, some very difficult times, and has been going through these problems for quite some time, and he did convince me finally that, you know, his story deserves some attention, and, you know, this latest bit of news it doesn't surprise me. I think we're living in times where we need straw men and you know, targets out there. Some of us, you know, who are maybe paranoid or in a place of fear. And, you know, Werner's very German. He, you know, grew up in Germany and was surrounded by a lot of anti-Semitic thinking, and it was kind of steeped in him probably as a child. And it doesn't surprise me that it should rear its ugly head later on in his life when he feels he's being victimized by forces unseen or unknown. So, you know, I'm glad we were able to at least get him on the show and let him try to explain to our audience in his very kind of hackneyed way his story. You know, it's interesting. The whole cattle mutilation subject is, for some reason, it's coming back in vogue. I've had 2 calls today, just coincidentally, from production companies doing shows that will cover that subject. And I find it intriguing that this whole subject is, after a bit of a hiatus, I think, in the public eye, is now starting to rear its mysterious head And to get 2 calls in one day about that subject is I think, noteworthy.
Now, when it comes to new books and the subject, you're working on something.
I am. I'm working on a book that I tabled back in '99 after I got 23 rejection letters from publishers who were just scared to death of touching the subject. And I've dusted off the research, which I've been slowly kind of, working with and compiling more and more research over the past 13 years. And I've decided to finally come out with what I would hope to be considered the definitive look in an objective way at that particular mystery, the unexplained livestock death phenomenon. And it's not only going to be about that. It's also going to have a lot of information about humans' relationship with cattle and how cattle, have played a very big part in civilization, and the detrimental aspect of beef protein, being raised and ravaging the land. It's the largest detrimental force on the planet besides humans. So I have signed a book deal, and I will be coming out in the fall with another stalking book. The working title is Stalking the Herd.
Oh, wow. No, that'd be fascinating. Of course, the solution to cattle mutilations is for all of us to become vegans.
Yeah, potentially. Beef is just one part of the meat eating equation. So, yeah, that would help. But hey, if you weighed all the humans on the planet and weighed all the cattle would vastly outweigh us. So, and they take up a quarter of the land mass on the planet, and the largest source of freshwater pollution, the largest source of the creation of deserts. And the list goes on and on and on about how detrimental cattle are to the environment. And marbled beef is, the amount of grain that we feed cattle would feed the entire planet. We'd have no starving people on the planet. So it is a closet subject, and I do plan to bring all this type of information throw it into the mix, and look at the cattle mutilation phenomenon as objectively as possible.
Are you going to focus any on the paranormal aspect? Do you believe personally that a lot of it is paranormal, or that's just human intervention of some sort?
I think a vast majority of cases that are reported as mutilations are misidentified scavenger action. I think there are maybe 10% would be, kind of my ballpark guess. 10% of cases that are reported as high strange are actually mutilations. The other 80, 90% have prosaic and mundane explanations.
Kind of like UFOs, where, 90 or 95% of all UFO sightings have some sort of conventional explanation, but we have that core 5 or 10% that are unknown. These are the things we have to figure out. These are the things we have to identify.
Exactly.
Well, I look forward again to the book, and I hope you'll let me see the manuscript ahead of time.
Yeah.
Give you my feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Right, you're getting free editing services. This is something that you'd have to pay for.
You're right. Careful what you wish for, Gene.
I will. Of course, we're also working on that book, The Best of Caveat Emptor, which is the publication I did for a number of years with Geneva Hagen. I don't know if it's going to be called Best Of. Best Of doesn't do very well, but we have all these great interviews with Ray Palmer, Richard Shaver, Curtis and Mary Fuller, people who do not get interviewed, never got interviewed that much during their lifetimes. And that's going to be fascinating. Lots of material from 22 issues that we're going to put together. How the book will be set up and distributed, I have no idea. I do have an idea that we're going to focus on the man himself, the conspiracy theory expert who has been on the Paracast every so often to tell us the latest, the greatest, the most mysterious. Why do we always suspect that things aren't what they seem, which is what conspiracies are all about? Ken Thomas coming up with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Hey, Hey neighbors, meetings are an essential part of any business. You know, making presentations to clients, collaborating with your colleagues. Well, make them as simple as possible to run and organize. Use GoToMeeting by Citrix, the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. With GoToMeeting, you can schedule an online meeting in seconds. Attendees can join with just a click from anywhere. Meeting materials are viewed on everyone's screen, making collaboration seamless. GoToMeeting is so easy to use for you and everyone joining your meeting. Plus, with GoToMeeting, hold as many meetings as you can. For one flat rate, you have phone conferencing and voice over IP are included. You know, my listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days, a month of unlimited online meetings free. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code PODCAST. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code PODCAST.
Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
I have been asked to announce that federal judge Walter J. Skinner has confirmed that most gasoline vehicles will get 22% more miles per gallon with a low-cost automotive accessory called Platinum 22, which meets or exceeds its own fuel-saving claims. To learn if Platinum 22 will give you 22% more miles per gallon, you should call 1-800-LESS-GAS or 1-800-537-7427.
Are your Federal Reserve notes looking for a safe haven? Mine found it in precious metals. Not paper promises, but actual gold in my possession. It is liquid, it is private, it owes no one, it cannot go bankrupt, and it maintains its purchasing power. Find your answer at Midas Resources. That's 1-800-686-2237. The answer is at 1-800-686-2237.
Feeling like there are too many pressures and demands on you? Losing sleep, worrying about tests and schoolwork? Eating on the run because your schedule is just too busy? You may be under too much stress, and it may be affecting your mind. Get your mental edge back with Nootropic Mind Power from MindRegard.com. Nootropic Mind Power is not a drug, but a natural supplement. Its 12 powerful ingredients are natural and non-GMO, plus it's gluten-free, wheat-free, and formulated by Americans for Americans by an NSF-certified laboratory. Nootropic Mind Power is available at MindRegard.com, spelled MindRegard.com, and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Free your mind with Nootropic Mind Power Cognitive Supplement from MindRegard.com. MindRegard. Clearly see tomorrow and yesterday. Today.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
We're joined by the conspiracy theorist of the ages, Ken Thomas. Is that an introduction or is that an introduction?
God, can I live up to it? Ooh.
Well, I'll tell you what, we just spent the last 20 minutes trying to get his connection to work under Skype, and the powers that be would not allow it. They would not allow his speakers to work, so basically we could hear him, and he couldn't hear us, which might be good because he can do a monologue that way.
Right. But if that isn't a conspiracy, then there isn't one. They're trying to keep me from getting the word out.
Well, I don't know. Why do we care, Ken, about conspiracies? Why don't we believe anyone anymore? You look at Congress, for example, and they get very low ratings, like 10, 15%. We hate the Republicans more than the Democrats, but that's not by much. We don't believe what anybody says. It's not like the 1950s. The 1950s, we believed the authorities. Today, we don't. What happened?
The Kennedy assassination.
That was it, huh?
Yeah, well, in modern times, I guess that's, if you wanted to track down to a particular historical moment. But, that it seems to me, why don't we trust anybody? Because they're all liars. They're liars and thieves and politicians.
How do you really feel, Ken?
Well, I don't really say that in anger. I just say that as kind of a description, the way I might describe a tree or something.
No, it's very matter of fact, and I couldn't agree more.
Right, but it's the Kennedy assassination that kind of puts the lie to the whole bureaucratic process. I bring this up in my lectures that if, for one thing, even the government did not believe the lone nut theory, that Oswald acted alone, that changed in 1977. They concluded, the House Committee on Assassinations concluded that Kennedy died as a result of a conspiracy. They turned those findings over to the Justice Department, and the Justice Department dropped it. No public outcry because of a synchronistic coincidence in newspapers around the country that buried that story back in the back pages. So even today, nobody realizes, and people think that there's a choice between the Warren Commission and the conspiracy nuts. But actually, the view of the government itself is that there was a conspiracy, and we haven't really investigated it, so we don't really know what's going on, and on and on.
I remember this story. I remember being surprised that nobody ever followed it up. And now let's talk about a story that came out, a week or two ago, where Robert F. Kennedy Jr., son of the late senator and presidential candidate and the brother of JFK, said that his father, you heard this story, right? His father never believed the Warren Commission report on the murder of JFK. All these years, he never revealed this.
Right, yeah, and it's like just now he's beginning to suspect that maybe there was something wrong there. After 50 years, we are in the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination this year.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Ken. Isn't it also true that some of the evidence was withheld for 50 years, or is it now 100 years?
You mean officially withheld, that you can't get access to evidence because it's been legally sealed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, remember, after Oliver Stone's movie in '92, there was the Assassination Materials Review Board that supposedly was going to open up doors for all of that. But no, you are exactly right. There's still many, many files and archives that were exempted from that process. So, no, we don't have a complete picture of it yet.
Yeah, I just read something recently online. Some guy came forward, like a bag man for the mob, who was involved with Giancana and Rosselli and nefarious characters like that. And he claimed that he was flown to Dallas and was actually up on the grassy knoll. And correct me if I'm wrong, one of the shooters actually hid in one of the railroad boxcars while the actual sweep was going around by the Secret Service. Are you familiar with this guy?
Well, I'm not quite sure if I know that guy, but it's certainly true that it's famous that the three tramps in the rail yard behind the grassy knoll were walked off by the cops. So there were people in the rail yard there. You're saying that one was left behind, I guess? Is what this
they actually hid in this guy, this source came forward, and he and another guy who I think was one of the shooters actually hid inside the boxcar, and then the train pulled out and they made their escape.
Okay, well, I don't know that story, but
yeah, I'm going to have to send this to you. I got to dig it back up. I found it a very, very long interview.
Yeah, but it is a matter of history that three, quote, hobos were picked up in the railroad yard at the grassy knoll. And one of the things I try to point out in my lecture is that there's a lot of photographs of those three, and one of them is the guy who is the central figure of my lectures from the last year, and that is this guy, Fred Krisman. And he supposedly is a grassy knoll shooter, according to Jim Garrison, the only guy who ever did an investigation of the Kennedy assassination.
Right, and of course, Krisman was famous for his involvement in the Maury Island incident just before the Kenneth Arnold sightings back in '47.
That's exactly right. And for the last couple of years, my current book, my current hard copy book is called JFK and UFO. and it revisits the whole Maury Island issue. And I go into Chrisman's history and his connection there in 1947 with the Maury Island case, and then again in 1963. And I try to make this point time and again that Chrisman is a figure who is so connected up to both of these things in so many coincidental ways, it kind of makes you start thinking about what are coincidences all about and what are synchronicities all about.
Right.
And why is it that Chrisman is so tied up? I started this process when I realized I went up on Kim Arnold's website. Have you ever talked to Kim Arnold, Kenneth Arnold's daughter?
We haven't, but Tim Beckley has been saying we must and we should and we probably will.
Right. It'll be a lucky thing if you do it, because she rarely makes appearances. But she does have a website, and on this website she has the little card that she found in Ken Arnold's wallet that lists all the Lincoln Kennedy coincidences. Right? Those are really famous. Kennedy was
of course.
in a Lincoln.
Right. And we shouldn't explain before we go on. Ken, Kim Arnold is the daughter of Kenneth Arnold, the guy, of course, who saw the 9 disc-shaped objects over Mount Rainier in 1947, which was the beginning of the UFO mystery, also involved in the Maury Island episode, which you and I, Ken and Chris, have discussed. We also had Kurt Southerly, who had done some investigations of that over the years, and he was a guest on the Paracast not so long ago. So that's the background. Let's go back to Kim Arnold and this business card.
Okay. Well, and in my lectures, another thing that I do, he did not... Kenneth Arnold did not autograph a copy of his book, The Coming of the Saucers, which actually came out in 1952, but he didn't autograph a copy for his daughter until November 22nd, 1973, 10 years after the assassination. And again, he carried around the Lincoln Kennedy coincidences cards. Kenneth Arnold was heavily into this idea of synchronicity and coincidences. It's something that, most people don't really understand about him. And Kim Arnold doesn't really seem to understand the full notion of what these coincidences are about. Because what is the big coincidence here? That Fred Chrisman, who's considered one of the people who recovered this flag at Maury Island, is also the guy who is considered to be the grassy knoll shooter. And the people who think of that are not necessarily armchair conspiracy people with nutty conspiracy theories.
That's the point where we have to stop and do our break. We have Ken Thomas of Steamshovel Press, and we're going to shovel a lot of stuff there to try to find out where the facts are. Clean up all the debris and the dirt. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-877-804-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV.
You land in Buenos Aires, then are shuttled to Santa Rosa, where a nicely furnished cabin with all amenities, Wi-Fi, executive food and wine, and laundry service awaits. After a good night's sleep, your adventure begins. You're on a golden stag safari for big game. But it's not Africa, it's Argentina. One-on-one guided hunts for water buffalo, cougar, bighorn rams, wild boar, and the biggest stag deer in South America. All gold medal quality. All the action you can handle. Land Rovers, top rental guns with scopes. All food, beverages, hunting guides, ground transportation included, and more. All more affordable than you can imagine. The adventure of a lifetime starts at goldenstagsafaris.com. The big game hunting ranch. goldenstagsafaris.com.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Are you still a traditional smoker? Now experience a new lifestyle and try vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. Imagine no ashes, stains, nasty smell, or coughing and hacking. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replaceable cartridge, you'll get all the benefits and satisfaction of smoking without the hazards. Choose your taste from a wide variety of our new American-made vape-free e-liquids at LeSig.com. And LeSig smokes the competition by serving thousands of worldwide customers with real people customer service, fast, free, same-day shipping, and a 30-day warranty and satisfaction guarantee. So are you ready for a new vaping lifestyle? Then call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. Or visit LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
This is Kurt Sutherland, the author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
With Gene and Chris on the Paracast, Kenneth Thomas, the conspiracy theory expert. And we're talking about the various conspiracies regarding UFOs, Maury Island, and the Kennedy assassination. This connection gets freaky. Please continue.
Well, it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Like I said, Kim Arnold, and I don't want to give Kim Arnold's story. She gives it much better than I do, and she does, make appearances at UFO conferences. But she does talk about how her father was very much interested in this idea of coincidences and synchronicities. But what she doesn't seem to understand is that the biggest coincidence connecting Arnold to the Kennedy assassination is Fred Crisman. Fred Crisman, who was the chief suspect as the Grassy Knoll shooter to Jim Garrison, who prosecuted a New Orleans socialite named Clay Shaw in 1968. And he's the subject of the Oliver Stone movie in 1992. But Crisman's name doesn't come up in the movie, and even diehard Kennedy JFK assassination buffs don't seem to understand how important Crisman was to Garrison's case. But he was. And in fact, Garrison went on the Johnny Carson show with photographs of the three tramps that we were talking about earlier. And if you see my lectures or get one of my books, you will see that one of these tramps is clearly Fred Crisman. And Garrison is on the Tonight Show. He's holding it up, and he's just about ready to name who he thinks the shooter is, and Johnny Carson cuts him off. I have the audio of this show. This is one of the shows that wasn't saved, of course, one of Johnny Carson's shows that wasn't saved, but I do have the audio portion of it. And they do, Oliver Stone recreated it with John LaRoquette as Johnny Carson in the JFK movie, but only in the home release version. Only in that edit can you see this take place. So Crisman's name doesn't really even come up in Oliver Stone's movie. So there are all these interconnecting, those things connect Maury Island and JFK. And then we have a whole other line of research. You remember an old television show called The Invaders with Roy Finnis?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I had the great privilege once of sitting down in Roswell, New Mexico with Roy Finnis and watching old episodes of The Invaders. But Fred Crisman, made the claim that The Invaders was based on his life. Okay? Now, you could, if you want, you can do this for any number of people in our community, people that I know say, well, he's a crazy conspiracy guy trying to inject himself into these various scenarios, into Maury Island and so forth. Although he never made the claim that he was the grassy knoll shooter. Other people make that claim about him. He's denied it. But in the course of research for the JFK and UFO, I discovered that, do you remember who produced The Invaders?
Do I remember who produced The Invaders? I do not offhand. I mean, I can go to IMDb and check, but I'm not going to.
What you'll find out is that it's a Quinn Martin production, and I bet you remember that now.
The Fugitive.
Quinn Martin production, which also produced The Fugitive and also did a show called The FBI.
Right.
Now, what we know now...
Streets of San Francisco.
In the Streets of San Francisco, right. But the point about the FBI is that we know for certain now, as a matter of historical record, that Mark Felt was a script consultant to the FBI. And do you know who Mark Felt is?
Deep Throat.
He's Deep Throat. Deep Throat. He's been identified as Woodward and Bernstein's connection. He's an FBI guy. And his other role in history, which is documented by the paperwork on this, is that he hired Fred Krisman for a job at the Hanford nuclear reactor in the Pacific Northwest.
Doing what?
Good question.
That's a good question. That I'm not sure. Some kind of technician. I don't know. Maybe it's a custodian. But the point is, when he says that he feels like he's connected to the invaders, there is a historical trail that also suggests the same thing. Now, what I've been doing lately with my lectures is, my current book is called Popular Parapolitics, and what I'm trying to examine is this interconnection between the intelligence agency, conspiracy research, and popular culture. And this is one big example. Another one is some episodes of Route 66 that also have all of these coincidental connections to the Kennedy assassination. There are episodes of Route 66 that open in the Fort Worth airport, where one of the guys gets a job at the trademark where Kennedy was going to go. And in the course of the show, they talk to Earl Cabell, whose brother Charles had been fired by Kennedy over the bad pigs, and who himself redirected the motorcade route so that Kennedy drove down Elm Street to be shot. So all those coincidental connections in an episode of Route 66 that actually aired in 1962, a year before the assassination.
This is interesting here because Route 66 is a show from the 60s. And it was theoretically about just a couple of young guys traveling in their car over Route 66 and getting into different adventures.
Well, it's Kerouac and Cassidy, basically, on the road.
Okay.
Yeah. And here we have it. And so the suggestion is, you get into this idea of coincidences and synchronicity. Is it just that, or did they work out the plans for the Kennedy assassination in television scripts? There's another episode of Route 66 that actually has Tuesday Weld in it, and they drive past Dallas into a town called Kilkenny, and there are any number of other coincidences. I could list them, but one of the supporting pieces of research we have are photographs of George Maharis. George Maharis played the Neil Cassidy figure, his brother partying with Jack Ruby at the Carousel Club.
Okay.
An episode from 1962 with all these coincidental nods to the Kennedy assassination, a year before he was killed. So, there's even a third episode of Route 66 that should have been broadcast when when Kennedy was shot, but it was pulled because he was shot. In it, the Martin Milner character stops a political assassination in Canada that's being conducted by his doppelganger, his twin. And this dovetails into all this research about the second Oswald and Oswald's double. So all of this stuff, which seems like esoteric stuff for, the assassination heads out there, but here it is playing out in, the major media of the time. In the
life imitating art.
Yeah.
It's like the Lone Gunman episode that had the plane about ready to crash into the World Trade Center.
Right, and you know what? Another interesting thing about that episode of The Lone Gunman is that that plane is being guided remotely by something called the Octopus chip.
Right.
Yeah, which is a play off of my earlier book, The Octopus, which was about the Promise software, which is a very real software during Vietnam.
Okay, just want to stop and say something here, okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, the last film I can find for George Maharis is one called Doppelganger from 1993, speaking of doppelgangers.
Oh, my God, how wild is that? Well, you know, what's interesting about this, I just got back from Los Angeles where I did did this talk. Actually, I did the talk twice because so many people showed up. And my dear friend Skylar Alfredman set this thing up, and she was looking for places for me to do it. And she found a place. When the place that she finally decided on, the guy there who was the connection for her, his name was Chrisman. So you know, it's like the more you look at it, the more these coincidences start building up. We really begin to wonder about coincidences, and actually, there's a science to it and a history to it. Arthur Kessler actually wrote a book called The Roots of Coincidences in like 1972, and while in the process of doing research, he started having all these strange coincidences happening to him too.
Yeah,
so,
Ken, every so often we see a news story where somebody resurrects the the theory that somehow the Kennedy assassination had something to do with UFOs and some sort of secret knowledge that the government was holding concerning UFOs. Where do you come down on that? I've never really seen anything impressive enough for me to really entertain that, but you're the expert. What do you think?
Before he gives his answer, he cannot give his answer until I tell you this. Ken Thomas is joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hey neighbors, meetings are an essential part of any business. You know, making presentations to clients, collaborating with your colleagues. Well, make them as simple as possible to run and organize. Use GoToMeeting by Citrix, the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. With GoToMeeting, you can schedule an online meeting in seconds. Attendees can join with just a click from anywhere. Meeting materials are viewed on everyone's screen, making collaboration seamless. GoToMeeting is so easy to use for you and everyone joining your meeting. Plus, with GoToMeeting, hold as many meetings as you can. For one flat rate, you have phone conferencing and voice over IP are included. You know, my listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days, a month of unlimited online meetings free. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code PODCAST. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code PODCAST.
Stop the pain from broken, chipped, and damaged nails and eliminate toenail fungus with a revolutionary new nail hardener, Nails of Steel. Just apply 1 drop of Nails of Steel over natural or polished nails and go. With Nails of Steel, there's virtually no drying time and it's guaranteed. Try this all-natural, antifungal, and herbal formula for women and men. Call 816-896-8307 or get free shipping at nailsofsteel.com. Nailsofsteel.com. It's like a salon in a bottle.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a silver dollar in a book explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Lunch is ready!
And it's an MRE smorgasbord at longlifefood.com. In 1983, Long Life Food Depot was one of the first to sell MRE pouches to the public, and we're still selling them almost 30 years later. Today, Long Life Food Depot has the world's most complete MRE online buffet, because MREs are all we do. Tasty varieties of chicken, beef, salmon, and pasta entrees, plus sandwiches and our easy-to-use pouches. Full moisture, long shelf life, and ready to eat hot or cold. We sell by the pouch or case, so the choices are endless, and so are the graduated quantity discounts. The more you buy, the more you save. Call 800-601-2833 or go to longlifefood.com to join our email list for upcoming announcements like the Rollaway Food Pod. Plus, enjoy fast and free shipping. Just call 800-601-2833 or visit longlifefood.com. Emergency preparedness, emergency relief. longlifefood.com since 1983, sending real food to your real future.
Alex Jones here with a message that could revolutionize health in this country. Going back about 1.5 years ago, I began to learn about the incredible health effects of longevity products. Aaron Dykes lost 92 pounds. We're going to show you some before and afters. Aaron, break down what happened, your story.
I've worked really hard with diet and exercise to try to lose weight, but I just didn't get the results. It just didn't happen. Then I saw what you were doing with InfoWarsTeam.com. I wasn't even trying to lose weight, but I got it because I wanted to feel better energy. I wanted that nutrition. Didn't even understand how that could kickstart my own weight loss goals, but the products did that for me. I found myself suddenly losing weight, more energetic, wanting to exercise, wanting to eat the right foods.
And they don't even advertise it as weight loss. I want to challenge our radio listeners to go to InfoWarsTeam.com. Sign up as a distributor and get wholesale pricing discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com.
This is Hilly Rose, and I hope that you do listen to the Paracast because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
You know, Chris has this great sense of timing. He knows we're about at the point of a break with the show to split for some business. And then he asks a very interesting question of our guest, who is Ken Thomas, the para-political guy who specializes in conspiracy theories of all kinds. And we're talking about JFK, the assassination, UFOs, and all sorts of stuff, even the Route 66 TV show, and a movie called Doppelganger. And I think I've given up on this. Ken?
It's kind of hard to follow after all that. You know, the broad stroke picture, the broad stroke question is, what does JFK have to do with UFOs? And again, the answer is Fred Krisman. Fred Krisman, and I'm sorry I raced forward on a lot of this stuff because I've been lecturing on Maury Island for a couple of years. So I just assume a level of knowledge actually that most people don't have. So let's just talk about the Maury Island incident, which happened like 3 days prior to Kenneth Arnold's famous incident, in which these saucers came down over the harbor in Puget Sound there and released some kind of a substance onto this ship. One of the saucers wobbled, then it was touched by another one of the saucers and it straightened up, and it took off. And there are two witnesses to this event. One of them is this guy, Harold Dahl. And by the way, one of the three tramps that were arrested in Dealey Plaza, his name was Harold Doyle, which if you say that with a Texas accent. But anyway, the other was this guy, Fred Krisman. And it was Krisman who collected the samples that had been jettisoned by the flying saucers, loaded and put it all in a Kellogg's cornflakes box, and gave it to some Air Force investigators who came out after Kenneth Arnold, who had been hired to investigate, after he was finished, didn't know what to do with it, turned it over to these Air Force guys. They got on a B-25. They were going to take it off to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and their plane crashed and they were killed. And that's where that story ends, even though there's still a debris site, a crash site in Kelso, Washington, that has not been excavated nearly as much as it should be, because people do not understand this history. You know, if people understood the connection between that UFO event and the Kennedy assassination, there would be a much larger hue and cry to excavate there and to, you know, recover the flag, find out whatever the heck happened.
Yeah, the
there.
show UFO Hunters, Ken, that was their first pilot episode. They went looking for that, and they actually found what they thought were pieces of that crashed bomber.
Right. It was, who was it? Who was the investigator?
Bill Burns.
Bill Burns, yeah, I've talked to Bill about this. I've been on Bill's show. We've talked a little bit about it. But he agrees with me that there's a lot more that can be done. They were able to get some things. They were inhibited, but it's never been fully excavated.
You know, back to the slag that was supposedly dropped by the UFO. You know, of course,
okay, sure.
Arnold sent some of that material to Ray Palmer. Right. And we talked to Ray Palmer's son, Raymond B. Palmer, just a couple of weeks back on the Paracast. And he said he still has a couple of pieces lying around.
I see. Had it analyzed?
I don't recall any definitive analysis that indicated anything being strange.
Yeah,
which is also part of the problem.
The size of about a coin.
Right. Well, you don't want to get too sidetracked from the major issue, and that is that Davidson and Brown died in that crash, and that was the end of the UFO investigation. One way or another, something stopped the investigation, whatever it was. I mean, I would love to get this debris from Ray Palmer Jr. I'd love to excavate. I would love to look at more, and let's think about it. But the point is that somebody there, Fred Krisman, who gave Davidson and Brown the Kellogg's Cornflakes box with the stuff in it, sabotaged the Air Force investigation of the UFO incident. And that's where it ended. And the original question that we were dealing with here is, what's that got to do with JFK? And just to underscore an obvious point to me, Fred Krisman is the man that Jim Garrison thought was the Grassy Knoll shooter in a failed investigation in 1968. This was also the conclusion that there was a conspiracy. It was proven for Garrison, even though Garrison's case against his main guy, Clay Shaw, didn't work out. In 1977, it was the same conclusion that the U.S. government came to, that there was a conspiracy in the case of the Kennedy assassination. So if all things were as they should be, then we would have authentic investigation of what happened, of the assassination, and also of the Maury Island UFO thing.
Now, the Maury Island UFO thing is officially listed as something conventional or a hoax. And, of course, Edward Ruppelt, who was head of Project Blue Book, called it a hoax. So this is not saying that it was a hoax. But I'm trying to put the two things together here. We have Maury Island, for whatever reason, involving this guy Krisman. We have the investigation of the Kennedy assassination, once again, possibly involving Krisman, at least according to Jim Garrison. But I'm not seeing the connection with the events. I'm seeing the connection with the person. This guy may have been involved in both, in one case as a witness, in the other case as maybe one of the participants. But where do the UFOs get into this?
Well, you've missed my point then. My point is, again, Krisman is the guy who loaded up the Kellogg's Cornflakes box. He's the guy who sabotaged the plane. He's probably the guy responsible for the deaths of Davidson and Brown. But that is a coup. That is a resume builder. My only point is that the Krisman it seems to be a hitman involved in both Maury Island UFO and in the Kennedy assassination.
Okay, so the point is here is that UFOs, it's not because they thought UFOs are real or have a mystery involved there. It's because this guy is a hitman, and for whatever reason, intelligence reasons, whatever, he was involved in the deaths of these people in that plane crash at Maury Island, and also involved in the Kennedy assassination. But there's no paranormal aspect to it, is there?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, well, since the Air Force investigation was cut short, we don't really know, do we? But why? Why? When you got a couple Air Force investigators coming out that, this is a hoax, and they could clearly could, bust it open wide just by letting these guys complete the trip to Wright Pat and analyze this stuff as slag. Why did they kill them? Could have been just an accident, but it was more likely that the covert world was trying to keep a lid on whatever was going on with the UFO situation at the time. And I don't like to characterize it. I don't really know for sure what it is. It could be a cover-up of an alien invasion. Could be.
Or it could have been a cover-up of secret weapons testing, Ken, because a lot of the sightings in those days may have involved test aircraft. And certainly there'd be a valid intelligence reason not to let that get out.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But the reason we don't know it is because the people who investigated it were killed.
There's been some speculation. Joe Farrell is one that comes to mind, that possibly the objects that Arnold saw could have been Horton Brothers prototypes, some sort of Horton Brothers flying wing type aircraft.
Well, they were chevrons, not saucers, right?
Right.
Yeah, according to law. Yeah. Well, I mean, they could be anything. There's also an interesting idea that the wobbling craft in the Maury Island case eventually, the repair didn't take, and eventually it crashed in Roswell.
Oh,
but all we have.
I've
all
never
we have
heard
are-
that. That's an interesting idea, though, because the time frame is within a month.
Yeah. That's
So-
what happened in July, and this happened.
I think
in
I mentioned this to you before, but my dad was a Coast Guard seaman in Puget Sound in the mid '40s, and he told the family on a couple of occasions that they had just gotten radar units for their Coast Guard cutter. I think this would have been 46, and they witnessed objects traveling in excess of 10,000 miles an hour, and they appeared to be coming in and out of the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and at the northern end of Puget Sound. Of course, later on, when I tried to get him to verify the story, he totally went into denial and said, "I never told you that." I said, "You did, not only once, but twice."
And this happened in the late 40s, right?
Pardon me?
This happened in the late 40s, right?
He was in the Coast Guard 46, 47, 48.
Yeah. Well, Kenneth Arnold was up there actually looking for the crash of a marine transport. He was going after a reward.
Right, when he was flying that day, when he saw the craft.
So there's even a suggestion that maybe that transport went down because of some kind of encounter with UFOs, flying saucers.
Another thing that you mentioned in your book on Maury Island about Fred Chrisman is there's some indication he may have been involved in the search for Japanese looted gold in the Philippines, if I remember correctly.
Well, if you really want to trace Chrisman's history, he first appears. Well, actually, his second appearance on the public scene are in these letters that he wrote to Ray Palmer's Amazing Stories as pulp magazine.
Okay, we can get into a lot more of this in our next segment. Fred Lee Chrisman, Ray Palmer, Kenneth Arnold, the Kennedy Assassination. Wow. Ken Thomas joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
You've come to expect winter specials from Herbal Healer Academy, and we're not going to let you down. Battle through cold and flu season with powerful, natural, and safe flu fighters. Antivirals like olive leaf extract capsules and elderberry power. Vitamin D3, 180 caps, only $9. Beta-glucans and an incredible immune system booster. Our own 4-herb tea capsules and Respa 8, all specially priced during the winter sale at herbalhealer.com. Also, exclusive homeopathic detoxes for lungs, kidneys, liver, whole body, and lymph are on sale. Herbal Healer Academy offers correspondence courses to teach you how to handle your health naturally. And as always, new customers get a free 128-page catalog with your order. Log on and save big now when you hit the winter specials at herbalhealer.com. Healing the world with nature, one person at a time since 1988. Celebrating 25 years in service to the natural healthcare industry.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Chris is taking on his best possible trickster voice for this. Because remember, Chris is the trickster. He's stalking tricksters. He's going to be stalking cattle, too, soon. and we'll have a steak
That's
dinner
right.
with him next week. But anyway, okay, so we're talking about Fred Crispin's background. Was he in the military at all? What?
Yeah, he fought in World War II in Korea. He was one of those reactivated vets, like my dad, actually. He fought in both ends. He belonged to the OSS. But his stories, though, his war stories, originally appeared in pulp magazines that were published by Ray Palmer. And that's almost a whole other lecture about what Ray Palmer was doing, creating or reporting a whole legend of these underground creatures called the Deros.
Of course, we've done a lot of discussions on Shaver, the Shaver mystery, because I knew Palmer and Shaver. You know that, right?
You did, right? Yes, right.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
I'm pretty sure I knew that. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Crisman was part of that. Crisman wrote letters to Palmer that he published before Maury Island, in which he said he got shot in the arm with something that seems very eerily like a laser before the laser was ever invented, and it bore a little hole in his arm. He had 2 or 3 letters, and so that's the second place where you see Crisman. The first place is actually in an issue of Harper's Weekly, where they're doing a report on the world's first science fiction convention, and lo and behold, the guy they talked to is Fred Lee Crisman. So that's kind of where he enters the picture. He's already like a science fiction fan, already kind of oriented toward ideation that involves, aliens and that kind of a thing. And he's not actually even a direct witness of the Maury Island case. He comes in later. He was not on the boat with Harold Dahl. Dahl went to tell him because supposedly he owned the boat, but that's not what the historic record says. It says the boat was owned by Harold. So he comes down like the next day, and he sees yet another saucer. So that's how he's kind of shoehorned into this, and that's all really kind of fishy.
Of course, I keep worrying here, how did all this, the involvement with saucers, the possible assassination of these investigators by causing that plane to crash, and then dovetailing it into the Kennedy assassination, I'm still, I guess, a little dim about that.
Okay, well, that's part of the reason why I try to emphasize this notion of coincidence, which, there used to be a thing about things are either cock-ups, coincidences, or conspiracies. But it just seems to, I think, defy anybody's common sense that it's some kind of coincidence that this guy, Crisman, was involved in really the first UFO case in the late 40s and the Kennedy assassination. That's just a coincidence?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what he did in the Kennedy assassination in the sense of who were his bosses. Who hired him to perform that murder? Who hired him back in the 40s to cause that plane to crash? The question is not so much who he was. He may have been just the guy who happened to do the dirty work, but who made him do that dirty work?
Well, yeah, just the trigger man, really. But when you consider the span of time there, the long-term durability of this, then you begin to understand the extent of whoever those people were, whoever his bosses were. They were around in the 40s, they were around in the 60s. And the point I was about to make before was that his business partner in the 70s was a man named Marshall Riconosciuto, whose son, Michael, became the main witness to Danny Casolaro. And it's a very big, important part of this thing called the Octopus Conspiracy that was a book that I wrote a number of years ago, Octopus and the Secret Government and the Death of Danny Casolaro. And the Octopus Conspiracy is all about the Promise software. And the most advanced technology we have, the thing that's, driving Skype right now. This is...
Wait a minute. Is that why we had problems connecting with you on Skype?
I try to keep one step ahead of them, but...
Well, Ken, why don't you, for some of our first-time listeners who may not be up to speed on what the Promise software was, why don't you give us a quick thumbnail sketch of how important this particular backdoor software was and how it could have really changed world events?
Well, it did change world events. It was developed actually as part of Operation Phoenix in Vietnam and came into full flower under a company called Inflaw. The idea is that it has backdoor access. It was sold basically illegally to not by the people who created it, but by this Reagan functionary guy named Earl Bryan. Sold it to like the Canadian Mounted Police, Mossad, ISI, all of the secret agencies around the world bought this promise software, which has this fantastic extrapolation capacity. You feed it data, and it can tell you what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and that kind of thing. So, but in the process of selling that to people, they sold it with a back door, which allowed our Central Intelligence Agency, and I don't want to call it the CIA because I think the CIA is probably just some kind of division of whatever the heck you want to call that big agency, gave us the capacity to spy on every one of the other spy agencies and totally centralizing covert control of the planet, really. And
you know what? Before you go on, are you familiar with a TV show created by Jonathan Nolan, brother of Christopher Nolan, the Batman Dark Knight guy, called Person of Interest, about this guy who's invented this all-knowing computer, and he uses the back door for it to predict that crimes are going to happen, and he hires his former CIA hitman to help him protect those people. Person of Interest.
I don't know. I've never heard that one. That's very interesting. When did that come out?
That's on CBS. It's a
brand new show, really popular.
Oh, it's current. Oh, it's a current show.
It is a current show. It runs every Thursday night, gets good ratings in its second year. And like I said, Jonathan Nolan, brother of Christopher Nolan, is the creator and executive producer, along with J.J. Abrams, who's the guy, of course, who did the Star Trek reboot and is now doing the next Star Wars film, that kind of thing. But
right, he's Fringe, right?
Yeah, he's Fringe. J.J. Abrams is Fringe and Alias and Felicity and all those shows. But
and Lost. Lost was his real first big show. And,
and the guy from Lost, Michael Emerson, one of the stars of Lost, is the star, one of the stars of Person of Interest, along with Jim Caviezel, who also played Christ in the Mel Gibson movie.
Okay, very interesting. That's interesting. Well, no, I've not heard of that. I only, because of all the travel and the writing I do, I don't get to watch as much television as I want. But I'll tell you what, I did see a program on the Sci-Fi Channel just last night called Continuum.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes. It's a Canadian TV show, and it's about...
from...
Explain to everybody what Continuum is about, because I kind of like the show.
Well, I kind of think that there's a scary premise underneath it all, because the cop is this woman from the future, but the future is where they've suspended all human rights, and these people who they characterize as terrorists are actually protesting this extraordinarily oppressive government. So she represents, she's supposed to be a good guy, although she represents an authority that is just terribly oppressive. So what is the message they're trying to send out there? And the protesters, of course, are the evil terrorists. So I kind of wonder about and like I said, I only saw the first two episodes last night, so I can't really say too much. But,
okay. Anyway, we were going back into this computer back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and the only reason I mentioned it was because once you talk about a computer to spy on other people or agencies, I think of Person of Interest, which is the omnipotent computer.
Right. It reminds me of a joke. If you feed a computer like that the question, is there a God? And the answer comes back, there is now.
Well, as we depend more and more on computers, I could think that the world that exists, where the corporations take over in 2070, whatever, and Continuum, I don't see that being far off the track. It sounds frighteningly real. You know what's frighteningly real here, folks? To even say frighteningly 3 times fast backwards. We have Ken Thomas, Parapolitics and More, the Kennedy Assassination, UFOs, with Gene and Chris, and that means you're in
the Paracast.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-877-804-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-877-804-MyTV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-877-804-MyTV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-877-804-MyTV. 1-877-804-MyTV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-877-804-MyTV. 1-877-804-MyTV.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
What's better than Mountain House freeze-dried food? Buckets of Mountain House freeze-dried food. Now the freeze-dried guy introduces convenient, easy-to-store Mountain House survival buckets filled with our top-selling items. Each item is sealed in a Mylar-type pouch, and each pouch is neatly packed in clear buckets so you can easily see the contents inside. These Mountain House survival buckets come with well over a 25-year shelf life and are perfect for emergency preparedness, camping, backpacking, or at-home use. Go to freezedryguy.com, click on freeze-dried foods, and choose our 12-month, 6-month, 3-month, 1-month, or 7-day Mountain House survival bucket with 32 generous servings starting at just $69.95. And all orders to the lower 48 ship free. Call 866-404-3663 or go to freezedryguy.com. That's 866-404-3663 or go to freezedryguy.com. 100% veteran owned. The Freeze Dry Guy.
Healthy soils grow healthy plants. So before you plant your survival garden this year, is your soil healthy? Maximize your crisis garden soil with EM1 from Terraganics. EM1 Organic Soil Conditioner, Fertilizer Amendment, and Compost Accelerant provides healthier gardens and faster, efficient garden composting. EM1 from Terraganics.com quickly improves soil structure by increasing nutrient availability and converting organic matter into soil humus. This improves seed germination and root growth, improves plant quality, size, color, flavor, nutrient value of fruits and vegetables, and improves shelf life. And when rain is not in the forecast, no worries. EM1 improves moisture retention in soils, helping reduce drought stress. Just like you prepare all else, prepare your crisis garden for maximum yields with EM1 from Terraganics.com. Order now at TERAGANIX.com or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Terraganics. Life's getting better.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Wow, talking about synchronicities. You know, all these connections, and we have to take a look now at one core fact, which is, let's get to the Kennedy assassination because there's so many other subjects to talk about. With the Kennedy assassination, are we suggesting, Ken Thomas, that the military or intelligence people were involved in his death? Was it organized crime? Was it all of the above?
Well, yeah, the organized crime people, those are just the people you hire to pull the triggers. But, yeah, and it seems to be pretty clear that it's a product of the military-industrial establishment that Kennedy had offended in any number of ways, primarily trying to de-escalate the war in Vietnam, which was a real threat to defense contractors at the time. So that had to be stopped.
It also shows Johnson being implicated because what's one of the first things Johnson did when he took over? He escalated the war in Vietnam.
About Vietnam.
Right. So he made up for whatever Kennedy did wrong.
That's right. That's right. And at the time, of course, Johnson's known as a great reformer in the world of civil rights. He's the one that says helped African Americans to be treated better as citizens, and all of that, of course, was also that had been initiated by Kennedy, and because he had been martyred in such a way, there was such an initiative that provided that helped the whole civil rights movement to happen, and Johnson was kind of, I wouldn't say orchestrating it or engineering it, but he was the beneficiary of that kind of social reform. And so people who were not inclined to think in terms of conspiracies or who shot who kind of look of Johnson as a liberal hero in history.
Yes, but he was also a political operator of the first degree. He knew where all the bodies were buried and used that to leverage his influence on them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting that I believe that Johnson was some kind of liberal hero. I do believe that he had his connections to the assassination, and I think the advances that blacks have made in this country have more to do with Kennedy's martyrdom than Johnson's bureaucratic finesse. Johnson and my great aunt dated for a while. My great aunt Helen Gahagan, who ran against Richard Nixon in 1950 for the Senate seat of California.
And Nixon demonized her
as pink down to her underwear, the pink lady. She was also the immortal goddess in the movie She in the 1930s.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
you got a wacky family, I'll tell you. But, let's get back to this here. Okay, so we know that we have here something that more and more people realize should be investigated, but with the passage of time, don't you think it's just going to fade from our consciousness except for a few of us conspiracy theory buffs?
Well, this is the big year, right? This is the 50th anniversary. And if we can't get anything done this year, then no. But striving after the absolute answer to it all maybe isn't the best thing. There was a great movement, again, after Oliver Stone's movie, and many files were released. We learned many, many things. There's just many, many more to learn. So I do know that the group that you need to pay attention to is this committee on political assassinations, John Judge's group in Washington, D.C. There's some kind of clampdown that they expect to do in Dallas. They don't want protests in the kind of protests that COPA has done, for the last couple of decades. And John Judge, who runs the group, I know he's in discussions with the mayor there to see what he can do about it. But there's already a problem. And in November of this year, I will be there. It will be probably the biggest observance of the assassination ever. And it behooves everybody out there, whether you're an armchair conspiracy guy or whether you're, a disappointed and depressed veteran of the Camelot years or whatever, everybody needs to converge on Dallas in November and make sure that they don't turn it into the kind of whitewash that they typically want to do. That does remind me, there are two movies on the Kennedy assassination planned right now, right? There's Parkland, which is some kind of Tom Hanks movie that takes place in the hospital after Kennedy is assassinated. And then there's one called Dallas in Wonderland that is co-written by my good friend and publisher Adam Parfrey. That's obviously going to take a look at much more serious issues than anything that Tom Hanks has ever done. So there's going to be at least two. But the whole consciousness about the Kennedy assassination, this is the year. This is the year that you got to talk it up. And my dog barks right on cue.
That's funny. Our neighbors here have 6 dogs, and sometimes they get involved in the chorus. Especially we get into something really deep and dirty with the questions here in the Paracast. They act up, and then we have another neighbor to the other side of us here. They have 5 dogs.
Oh, my God. Well, I have only the one who never barks.
Maybe somebody's sneaking around outside.
You calm down, dog.
You better check that, you never know what's going on out there. Maybe they're coming to... That's an interesting question I'm going to ask you. With all the conspiracies going around and all the strange things happening, and you've been talking about this stuff for years, and you're still here. I assume you are not a doppelganger. You're the original Ken Thomas. So why is it that they're not going after you, or do they consider you, well, this guy's just a crazy person, so who cares?
Well,
I'm
remember,
being, kind of, as they say, less than serious.
Well, I co-wrote The Octopus with Jim Keith. Did you ever talk to Keith? But he's not around anymore.
Yeah, I did. He interviewed me for Black Helicopters Over America, and he refused to meet with me in anywhere but a Safeway parking lot.
See, he was super paranoid, and yet they got to him. Also, I have had doppelgangers. People send me photographs. I think I got one on the bulletin board right now. It's some guy standing around with a Ken Thomas name tag at one of the Laughlin conferences. Kind of looks a little bit like me, but he's not me. I've been part of a community of people that are kind of under the radar. There is a level of interest in parapolitics in the entertainment world that shields the real researchers underneath, and that's the Jesse Venturas and the Alex Joneses and those kind of people. But then there are people like Jim Keith and me, Skylar Alfregan's another good one, Parfrey's a good one, Acharya S., Rob Sterling. And in fact, in my new book, Popular Parapolitics, I have a section called 5 Questions of 5 Researchers. And that has Acharya S., who has been an activist in a much more dangerous field of religious culture.
We had her on the Paracast early on, and we even had Jesse Ventura on, I guess, a year and a half ago.
Now I've challenged in this new book of mine. I've challenged Jesse Ventura to a smackdown, to go into the ring with me, and if he accepts, my plan is to. You've talked to Adam Gorightly?
We sure have. Yes.
Yeah, right. So he's like into this wrestling, with the masks and stuff. So I'm going to put a mask on him. So if Jesse Ventura pays attention to me and takes me up on this idea of getting into the ring for a smackdown, I'm going to dress up Gorightly and send him into my place.
This is getting more complicated than we can imagine, ladies and gentlemen. We got so much more with Ken Thomas and Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hey neighbors, meetings are an essential part of any business. Making presentations to clients, collaborating with your colleagues. Well, make them as simple as possible to run and organize. Use GoToMeeting by Citrix, the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. With GoToMeeting, you can schedule an online meeting in seconds. Attendees can join with just a click from anywhere. Meeting materials are viewed on everyone's screen, making collaboration seamless. GoToMeeting is so easy to use for you and everyone joining your meeting. Plus, with GoToMeeting, hold as many meetings as you can. For one flat rate, you have phone conferencing and voice over IP are included. My listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days, a month of unlimited online meetings free. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code PODCAST. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code PODCAST.
We travel so much, and having a fake TV, well, it gives added peace of mind.
Burglars look for houses that appear to be easy targets. But fake TV can fool even professional burglars into thinking someone is home watching television.
As a recent widow living alone, it gives me great peace of mind to set my fake TV near a window and know that passing motorists and pedestrians will think someone is home watching TV when I'm actually away from home.
Fake TV easily plugs into any outlet, just like a light on a timer.
And they're so easy to use. You just plug them in and they're ready to go. Plus, they're so affordable that we have one upstairs and downstairs.
Fake TV is only $34.95. Order your fake TV by calling 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. That's 877-532-5388 or faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
Looking back on 2012, I know personally I'm thanking God that my family and I made it through the year. From natural disasters like Hurricane Sandy and the devastating summer drought to the family hardships brought on by a disastrous economy. Our hearts go out to those that have lost everything. My friends at eFoods Direct hear from customers every day that are fortunate to weather life's storm by having a supply of food on hand. Danny from New York City wrote in following Hurricane Sandy and said, almost all of the grocery stores are closed, but I managed to get my eFoods just in time to be able to help my sister and my niece. Bottom line, it's better to be prepared 10 years too early than one day too late. Heed common sense's warning and do what I've done. Call 800-409-5633 today or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. They have the best tasting long-term storable food on the planet. Call 800-409-5633 and ask about the Alex Jones special or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Get self-sufficient today. Call 800-409-5633 or efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
Fight back this cold and flu season with the world's best garlic extract, Ali C. Why Ali C? Because it helps your body fight viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Ali C has been scientifically proven in double-blind studies using low doses to greatly reduce the number, severity, and duration of common colds. Ali C contains 300 milligrams of stabilized allicin, the active ingredient in crushed garlic. Studies show Ali C is effective against MRSA, bacterial, fungal, and viral infections. One tablet of Ali C has the equivalent of 40 cloves of garlic. Ali C supports your body's resistance to all types of conditions and can help lower high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So boost your body's resistance to infection with nature's best garlic extract, Ali C. For more information and to order Ali C, call 877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com. That's 1-877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com for your Ali C today.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
Yes, conspiracy theories, JFK, UFOs, all that sort of stuff. And then Ken Thomas talking about the people who've been on the Paracast over the years. Adam Gorightly, Jesse Ventura, all these people. Chris did a scene or a session for Jesse Ventura, and they cut out most of the show, at least most of Chris's participation.
Well, they whitewashed the whole thing. I mean,
lucky Chris. Well, the show is about Jesse Ventura and his Porsche and the places he gets to go and his celebrity helpers like Oliver Stone's son and his own son. And he's just not serious. I know he did one episode with David Icke, who you may or may not like, but his whole approach was to sit down. He busted in backstage at one of Icke's gigs, just sat there, crossed his arms, and said, "Show me a reptile." And Ike is like, "Well, I've written 15, 20 books, and I've got a lot more to say than just that." But Ventura is just he's just a kind of a macho guy who used to be one of those quote professional wrestlers, and also used to be a politician. There aren't too many other kinds of liars out there, and I think he exploits the conspiracy world.
He has a bit of a grandstand, that's for sure.
Right? Yeah. I see people I know on the show, and I understand that they're trying to do to him what he's doing to them. They're trying to glom onto his fame and get some attention to what they're doing. And that some FaceTime, I guess, is better than none at all. But somebody needs to stand up and say, "Look, Jesse, there have been people like me and Jim Keith, and let me name the people that are in my new book: Acharya, Rob Sterling, Joan Dark, who started Paranoia magazine, extraordinary woman.
Right.
Jonathan Vankin, who wrote the greatest conspiracies of all time book.
I found it very almost a little disconcerting that Jerry Smith, who helped put together one of their first programs on weather warfare and HARP, died, I think, just within days of the episode airing.
That's absolutely right, actually, and that's also in my book. My tribute to Jerry Smith is there's a whole chapter on that in the book there. It is kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, you can't trust anything that comes close to the mainstream media. They're all over that. That's some kind of manipulation from the intelligence world, and I'm sure Jesse Ventura is part of that. The intelligence entertainment.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Ken. I've heard rumblings over the years that the History Channel is a is really closely tied into the intelligence agencies, which shall remain nameless. But what sort of research have you done looking at how much the media is manipulated by the intelligence world? Do you think there's smoking gun evidence to suggest that, or do we have any sort of, I don't know, facts or figures or data that might back up that?
Yeah, well, again, all of this is kind of working off my research in JFK and Maury Island, and examples like the Route 66 show that I just went over, that you can actually see the assassination being planned on television, a year before it happens, and giving you every cue. What we talked about before, the lone gunman episode, that one predicted 9/11 using the Promise software. So, yeah, I think, unless you want to mystify this idea of synchronicity and coincidences, that there's just some kind of mystical thing that connects all these facts, you got to eventually deal with the idea that that's happening for a reason, and that the intelligence community, whatever it is, they're Hollywood scriptwriters, or there people are in there working with Hollywood scriptwriters, and in many cases, and if we know that, of course, it becomes important for us to monitor these shows and see what they're, what they want us to think, and maybe even find out some of the things that they expect to do.
So you'd suggest here there's a deliberate effort to use these TV shows and movies to manipulate our thoughts about different issues.
Yeah, there's probably some sort of algorithm you could do.
That's one possibility, but it's also, working it out themselves. I mean, somebody's got to plan the assassination, right? So one good way to do that is to write it out in a script, and which seems to be what has happened in these Route 66 episodes, or something like that.
Well, you can also assume here that what they're trying to do is dumb down the audience. I think some of these reality shows are just absolutely, totally dumb.
Well, yeah, that's television's oldest role, to keep people stupid.
Opiate of the masses.
But, I'll tell you what, though, it is kind of interesting to see things like the debate between Piers Morgan and Alex Jones, and also to see that CNN getting so far from any notion of being a news organization to just being the people that get on there to moralize about gun control.
Well, of course, you have to understand, too, that's just the way things are with all news stations now. Of course, Fox News is conservative. MSNBC has the liberal bent. So if you don't take a stand and you don't express an opinion, if you just try to cover the news without basically embellishment, nobody watches.
Right, yeah, they have to exaggerate it and make it emotional. And, of course, if you try to take a strategy and say, well, I'll watch both of them. I'll watch Fox and I'll watch MSNBC, and then I'll get the full picture. Then, of course, you're watching so much television that you've been so brainwashed by the corporate entertainment media, it doesn't really matter anymore.
You have two large corporations which are trying to sell ads, and they don't care what kind of point of view is involved. They're just looking to sell ads. But let's just get into more of the things that are just really impacting public opinion. Okay, so the Kennedy assassination is, for all and everyone, the biggest conspiracy theory of our time. What might have really happened? Is there a number 2 with a bullet? What would you say the second? The second most important or significant or popular conspiracy?
Assassinations of the 60s, of course, are very, very interesting, and my own writing has been about the Promise software and the effect of how they kind of shoehorned in this computer system that we have now, the high-tech Shanghaiing of all human communication. That's kind of interesting to me. But really the purpose, when I started Steamshovel Press, was to look at it all, to find conspiracy researchers, working on every single aspect of it, because the only reason to ever turn away is because you're exhausted, not because it isn't interesting. So I would say, personally, for me, it's the Promise software. There's conspiracy number 2, JFK and Promise software. But then, of course, the UFO cover-up. When you talk about UFO conspiracy, you're talking about more than 5 decades of cover-up of a phenomenon that we all know exists, that we all know that the government has a lot more information than they ever want to let loose of. Maybe that would be it. UFO, JFK, UFO, Promise software. Well, I was really just ranting, so
I think we're looking for number 2, and you were talking about that particular software thing.
The Promise software.
Right. Yeah, and the whole Inslaw case.
To me, which of course grows out of the October surprise of the 80s and the beginning of the Reagan years. So if I was to list what I think are the most important conspiracies in history, JFK would come first. UFOs, I guess, would come second, and then the Promise software.
Okay.
But again, the current book, Popular Parapolitics, is the latest in the popular series. I had one called Popular Alienation, another one called Popular Paranoia, and this whole notion that I put out there as a kind of a counter to being dismissed as some crazy conspiracy theorist is I don't even call what I do conspiracy theory. I call it parapolitics, and that is the whole social aspect of politics that goes on. That the prefix paranoia, para, means going alongside. And so what's actually going on throughout the community, throughout the country, of all the little researchers, or not just little researchers, but all the people that basically comprise an alternate history, historical understanding of the country than what the mainstream keeps trying to push down our throats. Because we're talking about Mae Brussel, Peter Dale Scott, John Judge, even Dave Emery.
Yes, indeed. We're here to speak about parallels and angles and triangles and I guess all that stuff. We have some parallel realities to discuss right now, and then we'll be back with Parapolitics and Ken Thomas with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-877-804-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV.
HempUSA.org has a revolutionary wonder food for detoxing the body and rebuilding the immune system. Microplant powder can help unclog arteries and soften heart valves while removing heavy metals, virus, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Plus, it cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Keep your body clean with microplant powder. Visit us at HempUSA.org or call 908-691-2608 today.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
You land in Buenos Aires, then are shuttled to Santa Rosa, where a nicely furnished cabin with all amenities, Wi-Fi, executive food and wine, and laundry service awaits. After a good night's sleep, your adventure begins. You're on a golden stag safari for big game. But it's not Africa, it's Argentina. One-on-one guided hunts for water buffalo, cougar, bighorn rams, wild boar, and the biggest stag deer in South America. All gold medal quality. All the action you can handle. Land Rovers, top rental guns with scopes. All food, beverages, hunting guides, ground transportation included, and more. All more affordable than you can imagine. The adventure of a lifetime starts at at goldenstagsafaris.com. The big game hunting ranch. goldenstagsafaris.com.
Can Heart and Body Extract help with other ailments besides heart conditions, high blood pressure, clogged arteries, or unbalanced cholesterol? It did for Karen.
I've been using Heart and Body Extract for approximately 2 weeks. I've had an earwax buildup problem for many years, with over-the-counter stuff not working at all. I had very poor hearing due to this earwax buildup. Well, after 2 weeks of taking Heart and Body Extract, my earwax buildup almost completely cleared up. Could this be the effect of better body circulation?
Heart and Body Extract is an effective 100% organic nutritional supplement specially formulated to allow your body to heal itself.
My hearing is almost completely back to normal. I'm amazed.
Order by calling 866-295-5305 or online at hbextract.com. That's 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for long and healthy life.
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Ken Thomas joining us as we look into parapolitics, conspiracies, whatever. So would we possibly want to theorize, Ken Thomas, that there is perhaps one reality, the mainstream reality, which is faked? It's not what's really going on. Then we have the real, actual reality, what's really happening in our world, existing at the same time. We're led to believe the so-called conventional wisdom. And when we start looking into the other stuff, we're considered, well, they're just crazy people. They're just imagining things. It's not really happening, but it's entertaining. And because it's entertaining, we don't have to take it seriously. We don't have to worry about it. Is that it?
Right. That's kind of the maddening thing. You know, people think you're cute. You know, there's all, so if you want to talk intelligently about anything, you know, there's another conspiracy theory. So, I didn't hear that on CNN, so it doesn't exist. Yeah, there is that effort. There is that effort. Now, I don't know, is the real effort, of course, of the mainstream media is just to sell soap, to sell things, you know, and the only reality they want you to have is that of being a consumer, a passive consumer, and they don't want you to think.
And consume, shut up, and die.
Right. And, you know, not everybody's that stupid. That works for a lot of people. But it's, you know, the people I know who have always been my friends, and also people that I don't agree with maybe most of the time. You know, Bill Cooper is a good example. And, you know, the ones I just mentioned before, Charia S., Greg Bishop, the great ufological researcher. There's people that, you know, that are dealing with actual reality, you know, and not the kind of preset, bogus, left-right discussion that you see on the various cable channels. You know, that's just reality. That's just what human beings are. Yeah, so what? We've got, you know, a huge machine industry that's trying to brainwash us. Okay, so we got to deal with it.
It is brainwashing us, Ken.
And every human being has a different point of view, you know, the truth has more to do with what's coming out of research, particularly people who are impassioned researchers, you know, who seem to get emotional about it, or somehow maybe even connected to a conspiracy that did them wrong. You know, and just as a normal person who wants to know really what's going on and not the stupid dumb show that they want to create, that's just normal. That's just a normal way to be. It's abnormal to be some kind of brainwashed idiot who just thinks whatever's in the news is what's really going on.
Well, ignorance is bliss, and part of the control mechanism in the culture is designed to keep people dumbed down, to keep them fixated on celebrities, on consumerism, and most people really, especially in this day and age, I think are they're kept so busy with their smartphones and their computers and all the distractions of video games and all this stuff. They don't have time to even think about getting themselves up to speed, informed, and just do the bare bones research to even be in a place to break out of that ignorance is bliss sort of, rat race.
Right. That's exactly right. And it's a tough nut to crack. My current book is a Kindle. It's not really a book. So it's really just kind of right now only something you could read online. I feel bad about that. But, this is where, online is where everybody's headed. And what's interesting about this is, and I've had arguments basically with my publisher that I don't like a lot of what's happening, some of which is, like, for instance, if you go to Amazon.com and you type in popular parapolitics, you will see a big ad for Kindle Fires and different forms of Kindle. And my suspicion is that we are selling more Kindle than we are selling copies of the book.
I'll tell you something that's even worse, Ken. The Amazon Kindle Fire is not sold at a profit by Amazon. This is something we know in the industry, in the tech field. They sell it for, maybe there's a small profit, but they sell it for roughly what it costs to make. It's sold as a loss leader, as the razor for you to buy the blades. They want you to buy the books. And they use this as a mechanism to get involved in Amazon's ecosystem. Because if you get basically a Kindle Fire tablet, it is a storefront for you to buy products and services from Amazon. That's all it's sold for. It's not like you buy, for example, an iPad or even an Android tablet where you're buying something to run software, play games, go on the web, email, everything else. With Amazon, it's all about buying products.
That's exactly right. Now, is that a conspiracy?
No, it's just a business plan. It's just that particular way of doing business. So for example, the difference being Amazon's business plan is to get you to buy a lot of stuff. Apple's business plan is to get you to buy iPads and iPhones and Macs and that sort of thing. They're basically selling the hardware, and the software is the accommodation to get you to buy the hardware.
Right. Well, what I try to get across to people is that there's a free Kindle app that if you want to get this book and you don't have a Kindle, and I'm really, one of the things I try to avoid is to give anybody any excuse to not buy the book. For instance, there may eventually be a hard copy of the book, but I don't tell people that because they'll say, well, I'll just wait till that comes out. Yeah, I'm sure we're getting a lot of people saying, oh, that's on Kindle, I don't have a Kindle. But I try to stick my foot in the door and say, well, there's a free Kindle app. It's not going to cost you anything if you want to read it on the computer.
That's right. You can get a Kindle app for your Mac or PC, for an Android tablet, for an iPad, iOS product. You can all get the Kindle application, so it doesn't matter. They can get your book. Okay, we've now pushed the book. Let's get back to the theories. Okay? All right, so we pushed the book. Sure. So is there any way here, though, to actually expose anything? And the reason I say this here is, once it's just a group of fringe people talking about conspiracy theories, everything isn't what we seem to think it is. Well, they can say, oh, these are just a bunch of crazy people. It's just entertainment. Don't worry about them. How do you turn that upside down so more people say, wait, this is the reality, and what you're seeing on TV, that's entertainment?
Well, it's a good question. You don't get Kennedy Assassination every year, do you? But when you do see what something like that represents to democratic society, and enough people see it, I don't want to get messianic or anything, but I think events this year, like in November, when people converge on Dallas, and you see how many people are actually out there not buying the crap anymore, I think that could happen. I've kind of a long time ago resigned myself to not really winning this war before I die, but the strategy that I have taken is, and I have this in my right now here in the room where I'm sitting. I've got this huge poster from the DisinfoCon, which happened in the year 2000, and its big dictum is "Find the others." And that's what I always encourage people to do. And it doesn't matter how small their followers are, how few Facebook readers they have. What matters is the content of their research. And they need to be connected and and talking to each other in real ways and not just Facebook ways. And just trying to raise the intelligence level of daily discussion. I mean, that's my ambition now. I don't want to take over the world, but I do, I am trying to encourage the parapolitical community, or the outside community, to pay attention to the parapolitical community just for the sake of improving their own intelligence.
So you'd say it's largely a matter, though, of not believing everything you hear, being skeptical, and, at least in this case, wanting to look into other possibilities that may be more true. But let's go into the theories themselves rather than the abstracts, okay? So we obviously have the theories that Alex Jones does, and I should mention we're on the same network as Alex Jones.
Oh, shame on you. No, actually, I like Alex Jones. And I've been a follower of Alex Jones for many years. He's in A Waking Life. Have you ever seen that animated movie?
I don't recall it, no. I have to tell you, though. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, well, this was done when he was still just driving around Austin with a megaphone, and he really was kind of a grassroots trying to stir everybody up. One of the things I don't understand, though, I mean, he's one of Jesse Ventura's informers, right? Jesse Ventura comes out to him and he tells him where to go to find these people. And in one particular show, Ventura went out, the show we were talking about before, and just totally trashed David Icke. And yet David Icke goes on Alex Jones's show, and they're like the best of buddies.
I won't try to explain that, folks, except to explain we have Ken Thomas joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Preparedness is simple when you have the right stuff. And with the looming threat of economic collapse and possible service interruption, it's time to get the best-in-class preparedness stuff at DisasterStuff.com. DisasterStuff.com has been serving smart preppers for over 15 years with quality products like Berkey water filters. DisasterStuff.com is the official Berkey in-stock shipping center. And as always, free shipping on all Berkey products. Stock up on water barrels and accessories. Get Country Living or Wonder Mill grain mills, Excalibur food dehydrators, Tatler reusable canning lids, Sun oven solar cookers, EMP bags to protect sensitive electronics. And don't be without your Life Straw personal water filter, all from DisasterStuff.com. Preparedness is simple with the right stuff from DisasterStuff.com. Freedom through self-reliance and personal responsibility.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, the final 4 segments of our visit with Ken Thomas, exploring parapolitics. But let's look at some of those other mysteries of our time. Is there any reason, we're going to hit this again, especially now because we have the 10th anniversary of 9/11 just a year and a half ago. So is there any reason why we should consider 9/11 to be more than what they say it is?
Oh, there are plenty of reasons. We're going to switch over to 9/11 now.
Let's do the turnoff here. Kennedy assassination, switch off. UFO mystery, switch off. We'll get back to that probably on our next episode of the Paracast. Okay, 9/11.
One time, John Judge and I went, John Judge and Len Bracken, who wrote The Shadow Government, and I went to this hotel that was right across from the Pentagon, right across from where it happened, and we talked to the people there. They all saw a plane collide into the Pentagon, so that whole theory that never happened doesn't really hold a lot of water to me. But the only photographic evidence we have of that major event is a series of still photographs that were taken from a Citgo station. And all the people we talked to in this hotel said that there's all these hotel cameras that would have picked something up, all of which was confiscated by FBI people. So there's a cover-up going on there, too. So there is no way in the world that we're anywhere close to really understanding what happened at 9/11. The impact of that is not going to continue for a long time. There's a conspiracy, and we need 9/11 researchers out there to deconstruct it and learn more about it, just as we have with Kennedy assassination. I mean, right after the Warren Commission, there were people that doubted it, and then shortly after that, there were people that started writing about it and organizing about it, and we've learned things over the years, and we've become better for it. That's what's going on with 9/11.
Okay, but why should we not take it as what it was? Some crazy terrorists get into this country because the intelligence people and the FBI are just not talking to each other, and maybe there's inattention on the part of the people at the White House, and it happens. Or did they let it happen?
It seems to me pretty clear that there was some kind of letting it happen there. And also those the terrorist networks. I mean, it's all global. Remember, all that kind of happened after we knew, for instance, that Osama bin Laden had been given the Promise software by that turncoat spook guy whose name is going to escape me right now. But they're all players. They're all world players, and this kind of just blaming an Arab culture for them is just that's not what happened.
Okay, but how then do we prove this? Are all these documents secreted away in the White House archives, in the CIA archives, the FBI archives?
Well, that's what I was trying to say before. Find the others. Find the people who are doing the research. There are researchers out there who have files with information. There should also be people out there petitioning the government for new data through the Freedom of Information Act, which is something that has to go on and on. You just don't file it once and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got everything they have. That has to be an ongoing effort.
Now, this is interesting here, too. I hear tell that the Obama administration, despite promising more transparency in government, is actually harder to deal with when it comes to freedom of information requests. True or not? I
understand that to be true, yes. I understand that to be true. And they're also conducting the drone wars, too, which is for a guy who supposedly wanted to de-escalate the wars and
win the Nobel Peace Prize.
And win the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, we've got drones out there just killing people robotically without any kind of human agency involved.
Well, some are suggesting they stick the drones at the borders here now, so that when the undocumented aliens are trying to get into this country, well, we send the drones after them.
Right. And I wrote a blog for Feral House before the last election, saying that assassination would have something to do with the election results, because almost every presidential election since Kennedy was decided one way or another by an assassination. And then, boom, so shortly after I wrote that, boom, the Libyan ambassador gets assassinated. And that was kind of hanging like a sword of Damocles over Obama during that entire... I mean, there's no other way that Romney was going to get elected unless they could, somehow turn that into some, gross form of negligence that they were going to expose and make the whole administration look corrupt and weak.
Now, some people are suggesting that Romney should have pushed that more than he did. On the second debate, he brings it up, and then Obama shot him down because he's trying to say, well, Obama didn't use the word terrorist in his initial comments, which, of course, wasn't true. And during the debate on foreign policy, they never brought it up.
Right, which is weird. I mean, I don't know if we know what that's all about. Maybe did the powers to be decide, well, okay, we're going to do this assassination, and then we have that. Let's see how we can use it, and then they decide they don't want Romney. So, somehow the word goes out. The intelligence operatives that are working in the Romney campaign undersell the power of that and kind of convince the guy not to bring it up, and then so we got the guy they wanted us to have, Obama.
So then the conspiracy theorists will say, what is Obama doing? What is Obama doing that is so weird or conspiratorial that they would want him over Romney?
It's a question, isn't it? Well, he's keeping the military contractors happy with the drone wars, for one.
Yeah, he's
He
malleable.
hasn't closed Guantanamo. Many of his policies are just you just wouldn't expect, particularly after the second election. And we have yet to see. I mean, we're still in the middle of this. We have yet to see how his policies are going to change. But in the first 4 years, he really hasn't done a lot to reform all of the
he's Bush
things
4.
that happened in the Bush years.
He's Bush 4. Clinton was Bush 2 because he was totally compromised by Pappy Bush and the whole Mena, Arkansas fiasco.
Mena, Arkansas thing. That's right.
And and then of course W's was the third Bush, and now we have Obama made all these promises of things that he was going to do if elected president in his first campaign for the presidency, and except for the whole downgrading of the Iraq conflict and turning it over to private contractors, basically. He did get the military out of Iraq. I can't think of one other thing that he did that made good on his campaign promises. Of course, the healthcare thing is I think many people consider it a joke.
It's a sellout to private industry.
Yeah, exactly. And so once these guys get in that position of power, it's almost like they have selected memory. They don't. It's like all the things that they were promising that they were going to do and stands they were going to take and crusading positions that they were going to use the bully pulpit to spearhead. All this stuff goes out the window, and these guys just play business as usual. It doesn't matter which party is in.
Let me just finish this. It's interesting here that you almost think that maybe the president goes in there with good intentions, like Jimmy Carter was going to find out the mystery of UFOs and what's going on because of his sighting. And they get in there, and the first day they take office, after they get the oath of office, and now I'm president, now I'll do the things I want to do. And then a couple of people in dark suits and briefcases, and maybe something really thick in their pockets that you worry about what that is. They come to visit the president and say, Mr. President, before you proceed in doing what you're going to do, there are some things you need to know about traditions here. And they tell him. And maybe some of the things they tell the president are not really pleasant to hear, like, if you maybe don't go along with the plan and the protocols, the traditions of this office, maybe you won't survive to your second term, or there won't be a second term, or we'll find a way for someone else to be elected. So that might be one of the things right there, because their self-interest is, well, I have to survive, so maybe I'll make a few sacrifices, and that's where it goes.
Well, one version of that story, and I've often heard, is that as soon as they get elected, they're brought into a screening room somewhere and shown the Kennedy assassination from various angles that aren't the Zapruder film. And they give the guy the idea up close and personal that, look, you don't do what we want you to do, this is going to happen to you too.
You know what's going to happen to us if we don't do this break? I can't tell you. Ken Thomas joining us with Gene and Chris. You are in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, meetings are an essential part of any business. Making presentations to clients, collaborating with your colleagues. Well, make them as simple as possible to run and organize. Use GoToMeeting by Citrix, the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. With GoToMeeting, you can schedule an online meeting in seconds. Attendees can join with just a click from anywhere. Meeting materials are viewed on everyone's screen, making collaboration seamless. GoToMeeting is so easy to use for you and everyone joining your meeting. Plus, with GoToMeeting, hold as many meetings as you can for one flat rate. You have phone conferencing and voice over IP are included. You know, my listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days, a month of unlimited online meetings free. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code PODCAST. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code PODCAST.
Quantitative easing, unemployment at depression levels, Europe financial system falling apart, China getting out of U.S. treasuries. At the end of 2008, the time of TARP, the national debt was at $11 trillion, gold trading around $850 per ounce. Close to 2012, the national debt exceeded $16.4 trillion, gold doubled to $1,600 per ounce. The $20 trillion threshold for the national debt is inevitable. Politicians in Washington have a ferocious appetite for spending and stimulus. What's worse, a printing press to finance. 100 years ago, we had a gold standard to limit this madness, but now you have to adopt your own gold standard. Don't be fooled with paper promises. Get Midas Resources 10 Reasons to Buy Gold free by calling 800-686-2237. Understanding the gold and silver market may be the only insurance you could have to avoiding the next economic crisis. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order your free copy. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
Food storage? Check. Survival tools? Check. Weapons and water filters? Check. But what about a permanent source of cooking power that can run forever without buying fuel or paying for maintenance? Introducing Afterburner Stoves, home of the original patented rocket stove, the Kelly Kettle, and the Solo Stove. Afterburner Stoves has what you need and now offers all GCN listeners our complete preparedness package with the means to cook meals and sanitize water. Whether you dig in or bug out, cook almost any meal with just a handful of sticks. We already have the lowest online prices guaranteed. But if you enter coupon code GCN at checkout, we'll knock off an additional 15% and send you our amazing 6-hour solar rechargeable light bulb absolutely free. All for only $249. Visit AfterburnerStoves.com or call 866-716-5214. 866-716-5214. AfterburnerStoves.com. Cook hot meals with just a handful of sticks.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, Terraganics.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
See, they've taken over Chris's mind. He's being possessed by the trickster. Ken Thomas joining us. We were talking about all sorts of conspiracy theories about why presidents, once they get into office, you know, for all practical purposes, they're not so different. Like, yeah, there are people saying that, look at this crazy liberal person we've got in the White House now, Obama. But if you look at what he really did, he's really a moderate Republican. How do you interpret that?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Christopher Hitchens used to make that point. What difference does it make, what knucklehead is occupying the White House at the time? It's the policies of the establishment, which is larger than the United States. You know, it's a global military-industrial complex. And it's no matter what bureaucrat they put in that seat at this point. And this is also an argument that's been factored in this discussion about gun control and the Second Amendment, that all these people who want to have the automatic weapons and machine guns and so forth, even though the Second Amendment was written at a time when the British had muskets, we all live under a nuclear arsenal. And I say, yeah, sure, you let everybody have any assault weapon they want. And if they're really feeling oppressed, why don't you go at it? Go shoot those nuclear silos, or maybe one of the modern battleships, and see exactly how far that gets you.
As John Lennon said, happiness is a worm gun. Bang, bang, shoot, shoot. But it wasn't about guns. We all know that.
Like Richard Sauter, he climbed over the fence at Minot in one of the missile silos there, and it took over an hour for them to realize he was there and come and arrest him. Right.
But, even you put an assault rifle in the hands of every American there is there. They can't, face up to American military might. Dylan's admit that the waters around you have grown. They have. And that's why the Second Amendment debate is so irrelevant.
Yeah, but the thing is also, if everybody has the assault weapon, we don't shoot each other because we can destroy each other.
Right, but we can't aim the weapons at the weapons that are oppressing us because they're far larger than anything that we have. The only thing we can kill are school children and each other. Yeah.
Well, there are even conspiracy theories about the school shootings.
Oh, yes. I don't think we have time for those.
I don't want to even do them. I really don't. I think that's just going too far. I mean, 9/11, sometimes to some people, 9/11 is bad enough because there are people out there who basically were impacted by 9/11. I was strangely impacted by 9/11. I think I've mentioned this in the Paracast before. 6 weeks before 9/11, I'm in New York City for Mac World Expo, the expo about Apple Macintosh products. This is one of the final years that Steve Jobs was doing the keynote. And so we went to the World Trade Center as tourists. First thing is I drop my camera and break the lens. I'm using an old-fashioned film camera. Step number 1. Step number 2, go up the elevator, and then there's an escalator that took you to the tower, to the top of the building. I couldn't go up there. I was scared to death. Mm-hmm. And I'm not great with heights, but I've done that before, and I survived. This time I just felt a horrible sense of dread. I could not wait to get out of that building. And, of course, my wife and son looked at me like, oh, Daddy's crazy. He's UFO man.
Right. So
I was a bicycle messenger on Wall Street. I used to have to go in and out of that thing several times a day. And every time I would sit there in the plaza and lock my bike up in the bike rack, I'd look up at the buildings, and I just had this eerie feeling like they were mirages, like they weren't even there. It's very spooky thinking back about it. And my ex-girlfriend's mother, one of her best friends operated a little deli there just opposite the plaza, and she said there was an incredible amount of unusual New York City police activity from about 5:30 in the morning until the towers were hit. She said there were cop cars racing all around with their lights on, but with no sirens, and it was highly unusual. She had been there 30 years, serving coffee and bagels to the workers before they go up to their offices. And she said that it struck her that she really had a very, very vivid sense that there was something going on that morning. So for whatever that's worth.
Well, I would be remiss, though, in this discussion about how these conspiracies are reflected in the media if I didn't bring up LIBOR and Sandy Hook. You guys followed any of that at all? And the notion that the idea that Sandy Hook is actually the name Sandy Hook is on a map in the Batman movie,
right?
That was part of the Aurora killings, and that all of that there's a lot of synchronistic, coincidental connections to be made, and all of it is covering up actually a scandal called LIBOR, LIBOR, that hasn't been a peep about in the major media.
Yeah.
There was going to be a congressional investigation that was dropped in the aftermath of everything that happened at Sandy Hook. So there you have it again.
Yeah, well, the fathers of the two killers of the Aurora movie theater with the Batman movie, and then the father of this latest just terrible tragedy, both had very interesting jobs. The first guy worked for, I think, FISA and or FICA, I forget, FISA or FICA.
Right.
And then the father of this latest guy, this latest mass murderer, had developed some sort of like super software for the accounting division of GE, and that I've always wondered how a company as large as GE can get away for years without paying taxes. They didn't pay a cent of tax. They had a 57,000-page tax return.
Right.
And so I just find those coincidences a little disconcerting.
Right.
I've taken some flack for them.
The speculation amongst parapolitical researchers that I've been reading is that these things are connected to something called LIBOR, the London Interbank offered rate, which is another complicated bank
scandal in history.
Right. And there were congressional hearings that were set to investigate it that were called off in the aftermath of all this, of Sandy Hook. But, this has been so soft-pedaled and covered up that few people even know it. The one writer, actually, who's done significant stuff on this is Skylar Alfredman. Have you ever had Skylar on?
No, we haven't. No.
I don't think so,
She is. She's in my book. She's in Popular Parapolitics. She wrote a report for Steamshovel once about the first conspiracy conference that happened in Santa Barbara back in, I think, 2004. And so I've put that in the book. The book has a whole section called Steamshovel Press, the latest issue of Steamshovel Press. So it's in there. And she's writing an introduction to this. And she's done some extraordinary research about LIBOR. I can't even do it justice here. But if anybody wants to follow up on this, that's one reason to get this book. It's also another reason to get, hopefully this will also be reprinted in the next issue of Ron Patton's Paranoia magazine.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you, there's so much to talk about and only 2 more segments left on the Paracast. We have 1 or 2 questions from our listeners that we put in the question bank section of forum.theparacast.com. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare our listeners for this event, which is why we only have those few questions. But Chris will pose them in our next segment with Ken Thomas. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-877-804-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-877-804-MY-TV. 1-877-804-MY-TV.
Are you still a traditional smoker? Now experience a new lifestyle and try vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. Imagine no ashes, stains, nasty smell, or coughing and hacking. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replaceable cartridge, you'll get all the benefits and satisfaction of smoking without the hazards. Choose your taste from a wide variety of our new American-made vape-free e-liquids at LeSig.com. And LeSig smokes the competition by serving thousands of worldwide customers with real people customer service, fast, free, same-day shipping, and a 30-day warranty and satisfaction guarantee. So are you ready for a new vaping lifestyle? Then call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. Or visit LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
Radio advertising on GCN, the Genesis Communications Network, is simple, affordable, and reaches millions. How do we do it? Let's break it down. First, the simple part. You tell us about your business. Then our expert radio copywriters write your copy. We hire professional voice talent.
Hello there. I'm a professional announcer.
And then produce your ad with just the right music and feel. Voila! Simple. How affordable? 60-second ads on GCN are the most affordable national radio advertising rates, period. And that brings us to reach. Millions of people listen to GCN radio programs on over 700 AM and FM and XM stations and streaming audio live. That's it. A one-stop shop. Creative radio ads. Very affordable rates. Millions of potential customers and customer service that can't be beat. See our current list of satisfied advertisers at GCNlive.com. Then shoot us an email, advertise@gcnlive.com.
Is 2013 your year to achieve more? More vitality, more health, more well-being? Hi, this is Pastor Jenny. For 25 years, I spent my life's work teaching others how to achieve more. But in 2010, I got a lesson of my own about RNA drops. I learned that there are millions of gene switches latent in every single cell of my body that are waiting for an activator. I learned by taking RNA drops, I could begin to activate that power in my cells and achieve the more that I desire. I'd like to share what I discovered with you and send you a free 30-day supply of RNA drops valued at $50 for just the cost of shipping and handling. Go to rnafreesample.com. That's rnafreesample.com. Or call me toll free at 888-577-3703. That's 888-577-3703. rnafreesample.com. Discover the more that's waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
Get ready. A couple of questions from our listeners posted in the question bank over at forum.theparacast.com with Gene and Chris. We have Ken Thomas of Steamshovel Press. You go to steamshovelpress.com and you get links to books and stuff. Chris, a couple of questions.
Yeah, we have a rather tongue-in-cheek question from Pixel Smith, who was part of our forum roundtable in our last show, and he wants to know. He says, "I would love to hear about the conspiracy theories that ended up being true." I guess it wouldn't be a conspiracy theory if it ended up being true. It'd be conspiracy fact, and there are lots of them to talk about. There's, of course, Tuskegee experiments. You know, the gassing of the New York subway system that ended up being true as some sort of field experiment by the intelligence agencies. Spraying San Francisco. I mean, you know, those just pop off the top of my head.
My question is, who is the arbiter of truth? I mean, does that mean,
exactly. Good point.
Yeah, does that mean if it means that there was a legal conclusion that finally said that, yes, there was a conspiracy, then once again we're back to the Kennedy assassination, because that is the official conclusion. So the truth, according to the government, is that there was a conspiracy. But on so many of those issues, like the ones you just named, it never gets that far. You know, there's a big almost all conspiracies have cover-ups attached to them that are quite often successful. So the only people that know the truth are the people who have done research into it. I would argue, in my experience, that in most cases, if something is so screwed up that it seems likely that there probably is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And there is truth to the rumor. And so, I would say, my inclination is to accept that as a conspiracy until proven otherwise.
Right. That's probably a pretty that's a safe way to kind of go with a lot of this stuff. There's no question that there's a lot of things that aren't as they seem, that we're being fed a whitewashed version of history in some sense, and that there are certain elements that are left out, and most people aren't aware of them because, quite frankly, they'd rather have their heads in the sand and their pink little tushies up in the air waiting for the jackboot, which is about where this country is right now. And I hate to sound like some sort of ranting talk radio person here, but it's true. Ignorance is bliss. People don't want to know the truth. So, Pixel Smith, do some research and you tell us. You start a thread on the forums And you tell us which conspiracies that you have found that have actually proven to be true. I've named off about 4 or 5. Ken's, of course, eloquently answered the question. Here's another one for you. This one comes from Conrad Hartman, who's been a forum poster now for almost a year. And he says, and this, I'd be interested to hear your answer here. Are you aware of any theories or details, Ken, regarding current human experimentation in North Korea? Reports continue to filter out of various atrocities being performed by the government, including accounts of experimental victims abducted in a black van referred to as the Crow. We hear other accounts of concentration camps and cannibalism both together and apart. But do you have any comment on what's going on in North Korea?
In North Korea? I'm not aware of anything specifically to what's being said there. When I think of North Korea, of course, I think of the satellite imagery that shows after dark, that shows lights everywhere except there.
Yeah, South Korea is lit up like a Christmas tree, and it's nothing in the north.
And there's nothing there, yeah. And so I don't know. I mean, it seems to me to be a matter of government policy to keep people in the dark, as it were. And,
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, so they don't really even need conspiracy there.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation a number of years back with grandfather Martin Gashri Osomo of the Hopi, and he was convinced that the War of the Gourd of Ashes would culminate with China putting North Korea up to attacking the U.S. with nuclear weapons. And he told me this way back, probably 10, 12 years ago.
Chris, you're saying that, therefore, North Korea would be a proxy for China.
Exactly. And he, I guess he did some sort of vision quest or something, and he saw these rockets coming over from North Korea and landing on the West Coast. But, a closed system like that is very difficult to pry open some of these stories and really get to the bottom of some of these rumors that are coming out. North Korea would be a classic example of how difficult it is.
Yeah, that's all quite true. I can't imagine that they could get missiles over here before we would take them down. It just doesn't, from what I know about the technology of it all, that just doesn't seem possible. But who knows?
We can always use that as an excuse. Didn't they use 9/11 as an excuse, even though it was a misdirected one, to attack Iraq?
No.
Yeah. And Afghanistan. I mean, that's the war that we're still involved in.
Well, here's one for you. I got a question. How much do you think the war in Afghanistan has to do with controlling the heroin and poppy supply on the planet and this $1 trillion worth of rare earth metals that are there? What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, almost everything. I think it almost has almost everything to do. I mean, Osama bin Laden is dead, right? And Al-Qaeda isn't really much of a force anymore. Supposedly we're scaling down there, but it's not always been the case. So in Afghanistan, has always been about the opium trade and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no one's ever actually subjugated the Afghan people from the outside. The British tried,
Right.
The Mongols tried, the Russians tried. There's a lot of nasty stuff that goes on in that part of the world, that's for sure, and a lot of it has our name on it, I'm sure.
I would think here also that we're trying to just leave the place, leave it alone, get the heck out of there, and save face, but we wonder what that country is going to be like once we're gone. That government, for example, is going to last about 30 seconds.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I think we're entertaining fantasies to think that we really want to make a serious effort of not extending our control throughout the world. There'll be some kind of manufactured incident or something that'll keep
Well, they're sure as heck trying. They tried with Libya. They're trying with Egypt, I guess, because there's more unrest there. We're trying with Syria. We're trying to force an issue there.
So do you have a sense of some sort of false flag event looming on the horizon, a la 9/11, or maybe a manufactured hurricane?
A manufactured hurricane, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I would expect something like that.
What do you think of HAARP?
You guys, I'm beginning to lose my voice, I'm afraid.
We don't have much more to go. We have here about maybe 12 minutes.
Well, the guy who did a lot of the research on the HAARP array was Jerry Smith, right?
Well, and Nick Begich, too.
And Nick Begich, of course. Have you had Nick on your show?
No, he's pretty difficult.
We had him on a long time ago.
We've tried to get him back on, but he's really tough to get. He's up in Alaska.
Yeah.
And
right, yeah.
I think he said we got to have Sarah Palin on first. And since we're never going to ask Sarah Palin to come on the Paracast, I can guarantee you that Sarah Palin, unless she has a really compelling UFO sighting, will never be on the Paracast, as a result
Apparently
of which... She's
had some kind of falling out with the Fox network, too, right?
They fired her.
Yeah, they fired her a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Well, she could see Russia.
Have you heard who's replacing Beyonce at the Super Bowl? Are you with me?
I don't know. I don't think I follow that. I have to tell you really honestly, I don't follow those conspiracies. That's one that is just way off the radar. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I'll tell you what, we got Ken Thomas who does give a damn. And we have Gene and Chris. We have Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hey neighbors, meetings are an essential part of any business. Making presentations to clients, collaborating with your colleagues. Well, make them as simple as possible to run and organize. Use GoToMeeting by Citrix, the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. With GoToMeeting, you can schedule an online meeting in seconds. Attendees can join with just a click from anywhere. Meeting materials are viewed on everyone's screen, making collaboration seamless. GoToMeeting is so easy to use for you and everyone joining your meeting. Plus, with GoToMeeting, hold as many meetings as you can for one flat rate. You have phone conferencing and voice over IP are included. My listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days, a month of unlimited online meetings free. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code PODCAST. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code PODCAST.
Is this the year you finally get serious about your family's drinking water? If so, keep listening for a special offer from Big Berkey Water Filters. Did you know that over 60% of municipal water is fluoridated? Berkey Water Filters distinguish themselves from many other filtration systems with the capability to significantly reduce dangerous chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, and disinfection byproducts from municipal water via the Black Berkey and PF line of filters. Then there's affordability. At only 1.7 cents per gallon, Berkey Water Filters purify treated and untreated water, even stagnant pond water. Stop and think how much money you could save by simply reducing buying bottled water and using water filtered by your Berkey water filter. No need to be constantly replacing expensive filters with a Berkey. A single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. Choose the best size Berkey for your needs at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And right now, all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Just call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY or visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. Free shipping on every order over $50. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Fall in love with food storage savings this February at BePrepared.com. Going on now, BePrepared.com saves you over $300 with a premium 1,600 one-year supply, including 126 cans of freeze-dried and dehydrated food. Or get the new gourmet 14-day food supply with a full 2,000 calories per day with pre-planned menu. Stroganoff and noodles are 20% off with purchase of 6 or more. Mountain House pork chops are back in stock at 34% off. Pack your own low-moisture foods with our new do-it-yourself Super Pail Combo on sale at 22% off. Add to your preparedness with minor surgery kits at 15% off. And wool blended blankets are only $11.89. The February Fall in Love with Savings sale ends February 28th at BePrepared.com. For contents and details, visit BePrepared.com or call 800-999-1863. The choice is clear. Be unprepared or BePrepared.com.
Injuries, slow healing, aches and pains, constipation, weakness, fatigue are all common the older one gets. The progressive deterioration of the body that occurs almost universally the older one gets can partly to significantly be prevented with conscientious attention to nutrition. If the Hanselmen can play rugby in their 90s, then it is possible for everyone in North America to experience a more youthful life as well. One key ingredient to warding off aging and reversing some of it is the type and quality of protein consumed. All protein foods or supplements you currently consume are heat damaged, destroying 50 to 75% of your ability to utilize the bodybuilding amino acids. One World Whey is not heat damaged and allows your body to utilize 100% of the amino acids. This feat no one else has achieved. The results to your health can be amazing. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworld.com.
Hello, this is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we've made it possible for Ken Thomas to almost lose his voice. This is what we do to people. Ken.
That's okay, just my phone. I was just about to explain that the Super Bowl this weekend, Bob Dylan is doing the halftime thing. And Bob Dylan is one of your great conspiracy theorists of all time, I think. And if you listen to Dylan's new record, and in fact, this also actually dovetails back into the idea of synchronicity. Dylan recently did an interview in Rolling Stone magazine where he talks about a second Bob Zimmerman who got into a motorcycle accident and died in 1966, which is, it's famous in rock history. Dylan's motorcycle accident is. And he starts talking about synchronicities and how he was transfigured by everything that he was discovering about the second Bob Zimmerman. So that's fascinating. But also, in his latest release called Tempest, which is this marvelous long sea shanty about the Titanic, but it also has a tribute to John Lennon called Roll On John. And the lyrics are, they shot him in the back. And there's this whole conspiracy element. It gets into the whole notion of, why Kennedy was assassinated. It's not the main point of the song, but it's definitely, the lyrics are, they shot him in the back. So the perpetually paranoid Bob Dylan.
What are we going to do?
Yeah, but you had to make the voice rougher now. His voice is pretty well shot at his age.
Oh, yeah, marvelously so, though. Marvelously so.
He sounds like an old Delta Blues guy now.
And again, he's going to be halftime at the Super Bowl. This is the first time I've ever looked forward to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'll be
he replaced Beyonce because of the scandal involving her lip syncing at the inaugural.
Yeah, you can't lip sync at the inaugural. You can't even use a teleprompter. No, the president did that already. Oh well.
Yeah. I gave up on television 7 years ago. I haven't had a TV in the house in 7 years, so I miss out on all this celebrity.
Well, you can, you hear about it later and look it up on YouTube because surely you have a computer, right?
Oh, I've got about 5 of them, but who's counting?
Hey, you hear my dogs going right now? Listen, we're getting deep into this conspiracy stuff. We're getting into the Super Bowl conspiracy, and now the dogs are arguing.
Well, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're into the Illuminati, and they do these. They have the kids do the sigils and the mudras and the symbols, and they've got their clothing line that has the eye and the pyramid, and they do all this mumbo jumbo stuff. That they're really into all that kind of stuff, from what I understand. That's right.
Well, Dylan's only into Jesus, as far as I can tell. But yeah, interesting thing about Facebook is that if you watch it on a large screen, like 55-inch, 70-inch television, you really get more of a sense of what's actually going on there. Facebook is, a lot of people use it and think of it just like it's email, but it's not. You've got your own television station there. Yeah. If you look at it on a large screen, you realize your sense of privacy disappears, for one thing, and you realize you're out there. There's millions and millions of television channels. Everybody's got one now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
If you look at the privacy settings for Facebook, they're very convoluted, very confusing. They keep telling you they're going to fix it, and they make it more and more complicated. And now we have a situation where Google wants to get into that game. It can't be just Facebook with the personal TV set or personal TV station. It is Google+. Google+ has tens of millions of people but I think most people just never use it. And that's a good question, too, here. All right, so everything about you is already on Facebook. You want to know something about somebody, it's on Facebook because a lot of people are led to believe it's just a way for people to talk privately to each other. Fat chance, maybe it'll happen if you do the proper settings.
It's the most ingenious intelligence gathering tool ever devised.
Well, I'm one step ahead of the game. My Facebook page is called Steamshovel Press. It's not about me. It's about the research and all the weird stuff that I can find and post. So it's like the Steamshovel Press Facebook in many ways is an extension of my old zine, only with videos and research and stuff like that. So I don't put my personal information up there at all. I just use it as a television station.
No, I found your phone number there.
On Steam, you did not. I'll tell you the one place that is invading my privacy is Wikipedia. They keep putting the year of my birth and the city where I live, and I don't want that on there. And I keep going up there, taking it off. Somebody keeps putting it back on. Did this back and forth for a while. Now I've registered a complaint, and they're considering my complaint, and just annoying as all get out.
I'm glad I don't have a wiki page, boy.
I don't have one either. We have one for the Paracast, which needs to be edited. And by the way, I welcome anyone who's really good at Wikipedia stuff to get in touch with me after the show, and we'll try to work out our page. But I don't want a Wikipedia page about me. I don't want about Chris. I don't want one about any of our people.
Well, everybody needs some kind of assistant to manage all that stuff, you know. I just can't pay attention to it. I'm not here to learn their rules. It's there to serve me, not the other way around. If I want to share something on Facebook, I'll just swipe the URL and paste it in. I won't use their little share button or anything like that. I'm not going to waste a lot of my time learning their crap. They're there to learn my crap.
or at least take a good sniff.
Hey, I want to tell you something here about Wikipedia. The first paragraph. The topic of this article may not meet Wikipedia's notability guidelines for biographies. And I guess that's because they feel you're not famous enough. Okay?
That's right. And yet, there it is. I'm there.
You're there, right.
Yeah.
The warning means
so
nothing
outdated.
because you never get this stuff taken down.
Right. I don't even know what's out there. Like I said, you have to hire an assistant to just search the web and find the different places. There's probably people out there just taking my books in total and putting them out online, and all kinds of violations of copyright and privacy, and it's the Wild West, really.
Well, of course, there are companies now who are like reputation defenders. That might be the name of one of the companies, and they promise that if you pay them this given amount of money for each instance or something like that, they will go out on the internet and somehow intervene to get some of the bad information about you taken off. Now, of course, with the Paracast, we are, I don't know if we're famous or infamous in our own minds, but there are sites out there that talk about us. Sometimes they're friendly, sometimes they're not. And, of course, I underwent and have underwent a number of financial problems, which, of course, is something which is a very evil thing to do. People who suffer, people who have any kind of negative experience, I have found people who complain about that. So there you go. People look for train wrecks.
I don't mind if somebody gets up and wants to argue with me about a point I made or some they think I said that I thought was ignorant, and I don't mind a fight, and I don't mind being negative. And in fact, I don't like all the glad handing that goes on. I don't like Facebook and all the cute puppy photographs and the little new age aphorisms and everything that people put up there. It's a big waste of time for the most part. I don't mind arguing with people. I don't mind being negative. But you're right, intrusions into privacy and, doing personal damage to other people, that ain't right.
I just think people need a life. I mean, in this day and age, people have enough trouble just surviving. The game of survival is difficult enough, and we here at the Paracast are trying to explore all sorts of mysteries, and we look at the conspiracies that we're talking about with Ken Thomas. Some of them may end up just not passing muster, that the conventional wisdom is correct. Others, we're seeing more and more that there are weird things going around behind the scenes. Stuff may be hiding in plain sight that we're trying to understand and discover. And that's why we're here each and every week, not to pander to people, but to ask the questions. We bring Ken Thomas on every year or two because he has lots of thought-provoking things to say. And maybe you'll agree with some of the things he says. Maybe you won't agree with other things. But you have to say he pushes the right buttons to get you to think.
Yeah.
You've got to think. Don't just accept your favorite reality show as being reality, because reality shows are not reality. They are the ultimate form of drama, in fact, or maybe the worst form of drama, because some of it is so amateurish. Ken Thomas, tell our listeners where they can find more of the things you do.
The main new product is Popular Parapolitics. It's a Kindle book, and you just type that title into Amazon.com, and you can find it and a list of its contents and a free Kindle app. That's one way to go. I'm using this year, the 50th anniversary of Kennedy Assassination, to do different lecture gigs. So if you have a group or something that you want me to speak at, please contact me. I just got back from doing a marvelous little thing in Los Angeles, and hopefully I've got CG Press working on Atlanta. I think would be the next place I go.
Go to Steamshovelpress.com to learn more about the things that Ken Thomas does. Chris O'Brien's found at OurStrangePlanet.com. That's OurStrangePlanet.com. More and more things going up there. The site's getting better and better every day. And you can find us at theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Ken Thomas, thank you for joining us this week on The Paracast.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.